This is example one for material requirement planning. We have this material requirement planning record that we need to fill in. Uh, in the first row for the gross requirement, we can see that in week 2, week 5, and week 6 we have some positive requirements, gross requirements. These are the inputs that we have from master production schedule. Then we can see that there is no scheduled resets for these weeks. All of these values are 0. In the beginning of week 1, we have a inventory. We have an inventory of 40 units that we can use to satisfy the requirements in the 6th week. And we need to fill in the projected ending inventory, net requirements, planned receipts, and planned orders for the 6 weeks. One important point is that the lead time is given here is 1 week, and also the orders, the orders that we can make, that we are going to make, should be of sizes 50, 100, 150, and so on. So we cannot choose any other order quantity, for example, 25 or 80 or whatever. So we need to stick to these numbers. I will start my calculations from projected ending inventory, and of course I am going to use the formula we can see here. So the ending inventory is the difference, as I mentioned, between the inflow and outflow. The inflow to week 1 is the inventory from the previous month plus scheduled receipts plus planned receipts minus gross requirements. Planned receipts is now equal to 0, but later I may fill in that cell with some other value, some positive value, but for now there is nothing planned for week 1. Later I will determine if it should be 0 or a positive value, but I need to take it into account when I do the calculations for project ending inventory. So I have an ending inventory of 40 for week 1, which is quite intuitive because I have 40 in the beginning of the week. There is nothing happening in week 1, so at the end of the week I will get this 40 in my inventory. And I am dragging this formula for the next weeks, and I'm getting these numbers. Now I want to see if there is any net requirement, if there is any weeks in which what we have in the inventory is not enough to satisfy the gross requirements. We can see already in week 2 we have an ending inventory equal to minus 35, indicating that we may have some more items to satisfy this gross requirement. So gross requirement is 75, 40 of which can be satisfied by the ending inventory from week 1. Then there is 35 in deficit, so we need to satisfy this by placing some orders. But before doing so, I am going to calculate the net requirement, which will tell me the quantity of the new orders that needs to be placed for the 6 weeks. To calculate the net requirements, I am going to use the formula that we can see here. So net requirement is the max of 0 and the difference between gross requirement and ending inventory and scheduled receipts. It tries to see if the scheduled receipts and inventory from the on-hand inventory is enough to satisfy the gross requirement or not. So I get these numbers for the next weeks as the net requirement. So as we mentioned, for week 2 there is 35 deficits in inventory, meaning that the net requirement is 35. So I need at least 35 units of this item to be ready in week 2. So I am going to have a positive number for the planned receipts in week 2. I can put 35, then as you can see, then the project ending inventory will turn to 0. So it means that with this planned receipts and the inventory on hand, we can satisfy the gross requirement. But from here, from this part, we know that the orders cannot be of sizes other than 50, 100, and 150, and so on. So instead of 35, I will choose the closest number that is, of course, higher than 35, and I will choose 50. So I need a planned receipt size 50 in week 2. Then I can see that okay, in week 5 I have some positive net requirements. Again, I need to have a planned receipt in this week. Again, I am using 50 here, and by this 50 I can see that the projected ending inventory now is positive, but in week 6 we still have some net requirements. To satisfy this net requirement, I need to have another planned receipt in week 6. And for this week, I cannot choose 50 because it is less than the net requirement, so I will choose the next quantity, which is 100, so I will have a planned receipt of 100 here. So I make sure that with these planned receipts, I will be able to satisfy the gross requirements in the first row over these 6 weeks. To have these 50 units ready in week 2, I need to place the order in week 1 because there is a lead time of 1 week for this item. So if I place the order in week 1, then I will receive it in week 2. And yes, and it is the same for the planned receipts in weeks 5 and 6. So to to have these 50 units ready in week 5, I need to place an order of the equal size, so we can simply use the same number here. So in the previous week, so if we make an order in week 4, then we will receive it in week 5, so we can use it to satisfy the growth requirements. And it is the same for week 6.